Hello everybody, this is Aubni and we're here in the void to show you a cool little contraption that I came up with. It's this one here. We'll talk about that thing, that mess over there a bit later. First I want to show you this. The only name that I could come up with for this thing is the Self-refillable Randomized Container. It's quite a mouthful, but it basically does what it says. It's a container, it contains an item, and if I take it out, after a certain delay, which I will shorten by grabbing this arrow, you shouldn't be able to do that, but I am, it sends another item in it. If I grab this item, and I wait for this arrow to despawn, or if I grab it, there we go, I got a new item in here. So it's a 1 minute delay between the grabbing of items. So if you grab an item, 1 minute later, it's gonna send you another one. So it's a pretty cool little thing, and I'm gonna show you how to build it. Now you might be wondering, why would I ever need to build something like that in survival Minecraft? Well, the reason for that, the reason that made me think of that, of that machine here is, as you might know, I love building mini games in Minecraft, and this thing here is going to be used in a survival adventure PvP arena thing, combination of all those stuff in a single game. So it's basically going to be a map where players will run around, try and find some loot, some items, and then fight each other. Kind of like for those of you who follow the Hermitcraft crew, kind of like Hermit Wars, what they did there. So you walk around and you try and find loot and fight each other using that loot. So like, let's say first, oh cool, I find a helmet. Now I can put it on and I have a diamond helmet, so I'm more protected. And in another one, maybe I'll find a sword to kill more people. You get the point. And since it's there's like a 1 minute cooldown, so I can't grab any more thing. I have to wait there to get more of the items from here, so it kind of makes me want to explore and find other ones instead of waiting in here. So I'm gonna explore and, you know, run into other people, get into fights, all that stuff. So yeah, that's the main use for this thing here, if you were wondering. So to build this little machine, you're gonna need everything that I have on my hotbar. So first, 2 redstone torches, a wooden pressure plate, it needs to be wooden, otherwise it won't work. 3 solid blocks, don't need to be iron. 2 droppers, 1 dispenser, 1 comparator, and a buttload of arrows. So first things first, you put the wooden pressure plate on one of the blocks with the redstone torch on the side of that same block. You put another block on top here, on top of the redstone torch. Then you're gonna put the dropper, one of the droppers facing upwards, and the other dropper facing anywhere else. Actually, you need to put the comparator running out of the top dropper into this comparator will run into a block, the last of the 3 blocks, on the same side as the pressure plate. You're gonna put a redstone torch, and next to that redstone torch you're gonna put a dispenser facing downwards, which should be heading straight into this pressure plate. And inside that dispenser we're gonna put our arrows. So how does this thing work? Well, first, as you can see, this dropper here, when it contains an item, this comparator will read a signal and set it to this block, which will unpower this redstone torch. When I remove the item, the redstone torch turns back on and activates this dispenser here, which shoots an arrow in the wooden pressure plate. The reason why it needs to be a wooden pressure plate is because it will interact with arrows that are shot into it. So when there's an arrow that is stuck in the pressure plate, as I did just remove, let's put it back on, there we go. So when the pressure plate is activated, it turns off this torch, and when the arrow despawns or is removed, this torch turns back on, powers this block here, which activates the dropper, sending an item into the top dropper. We can see it in action once again. So there we go. Now I remove the item, there's an arrow stuck in here, this is turned off, and if I go on this side, there we go. I removed the arrow, the pressure plate unpowered, and it sent a signal to this dropper here, which sent the potion in the top dropper. There is one problem with this design here, and it's a problem you might have noticed with my extensive use of the singular form, is that it sends only one item at a time. So for example, for food or arrows, it's really not ideal, which means that we got this little extension that we can add, these two little things that make it so we can send more than one item at a time. So for example, here we got 15 arrows. If we change the delay on this repeater, we can make it 16. We'll talk about that later, how to change the number of items. Right now it's 15 items. As you can see, I grab those items, it gets emptied. If I make this arrow despawn, we get 15 more items. Again, there we go, 15 new arrows in this dropper. So how this works is, you might have noticed here, we have a redstone clock, which will send repeated short pulses to this dropper, which sends, that's how it works, that's how it sends more than one item at a time. And to make sure that we don't send just all the items, we need this thing to eventually stop, which is what this part here is for. So here we have a pulse extender that turns off, when it's turned on, it turns off this torch here. So when it's turned off, it takes a little time, and then eventually this torch turns off. And this comparator here will read the signal and will shut down if both torches are turned on. So that's how this thing works. To build it, you'll need all these items that I have here in my hotbar. So basically, it's pretty simple. You see everything from this angle. The only difference is that you have to put this redstone torch on the usual, the normal layout of this thing. The torch is here. Instead, you have to remove it and put it here, and then you have to put this the repeater, oops, here, and the rest is all the same that we have right here. So finally, last thing that I want to talk about is how to adjust the number of items that you get in this dropper when it gets emptied. So the first way that I thought of to get a different amount of items was to get a bigger delay on this repeater here. Sadly, what I found out is that you get 15 items if you have a 1 or 2 tick delay, and if you have a 3 or 4 tick delay, you get 16 items. So that's all the change that there is here, sadly. So I found another way to make it give more items, and that way is to make this pulse extender extend for longer. So how I managed to do it is to add a bunch of comparators. You could add even more comparators in this over there or over that way, and it will give out more items. As you can see, I emptied it and now I got 36 arrows in here. And the last adjustment that I found that we could use to adjust the amount of items, this time to reduce the amount of items that we get in this top dropper. First, you need to put this comparator here in subtract mode. You run a comparator into it, and this comparator needs to grab a signal from another container. So it can be a dropper, it can be actually anything. So if you put some items inside this dropper, it's going to send a signal, and since this comparator here is in subtract mode, it's going to, well, instead of sending the same power through, it's going to subtract an amount of power from it. So it's going to make this pulse extender run out faster. Let's take a look. So this time, as you can see, with one stack in this dropper, we get 5 arrows. So I haven't tested all the ways to change the number of items that you get in this dropper, but I'm pretty sure that if you combine all those different methods to change the amount of items, you can get pretty much any item that you want and any number of items possible into this dropper. So that's about it for this tutorial and showcase of this contraption here. I hope you liked it, and I hope you get ideas how to use that. And if you have any questions about this contraption, feel free to ask them. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more of what I do, please subscribe to my channel. It would be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching, and bye bye.